Thank you, Senator King. Mr. Menzies, I want to bring up an issue that we discussed with Secretary Moniz when he was Secretary of Energy, and this relates to the Office of Energy, Indian Policy and Programs. It's one of the smaller DOE offices, but it also accounts for all of DOE's employees in Alaska, both of them. We have two. Two. And for a considerable period of time, it was down to just one. I was home last weekend and was at church and ran into the one gentleman that's basically been holding down the fort all these years. When Secretary Moniz was in the state with us when we went out to Oscarville, he made the commitment that, yes, we've got to address really the issues with regards to the Office of Indian Energy and make sure that we're doing all that we can to help the communities, not just in Alaska, but around the country, to be more energy sustainable. And the commitment was, look, we got to have at least three. Well, we're not to three, we're sitting at two, and it's not typical for me to be pushing for more employees, but you have one half of the tribes in the country that are in Alaska. We have extraordinary energy potentials within the state, and certainly opportunities within the microgrid systems. Again, ways that we can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and in these high-cost areas. So I need to know whether you support the Office of Indian Energy and will work with us to make sure that these offices have the support that they clearly need in order to do what will help benefit not only those in rural parts of Alaska, but rural parts of our nation as well.
Thank you, Senator, for that question. I certainly support the Office of Indian. Going back to 2005 when we put it in the bill, and today my commitment continues. Alaska continues to be a unique place, not only for the tribes that it serves, but also for R&D for our labs. So we look forward to to working with that, and you have my commitment to be a strong advocate for the Office of Indian Affairs.
Well, we really need that commitment, and again, we need the commitment to make sure that we have the resources on the ground to really help these small communities. I want to broaden the question a little bit, include you, Mr. DeBar, with regards to microgrids. As folks know on this committee, our grid system, our energy grid system is pretty much limited to the rail belt area. When you have over 80% of your communities that are not connected by road, that also means that they're not connected most times by any kind of an energy intertie. And so how we can take steps to, again, reduce reliance on diesel generation, because that's how many of these smaller communities are powered. Senator Cantwell came with me when we had a field hearing in Cordova, Alaska, and it was an opportunity to focus on what I think are some of the exciting prospects when it comes to microgrids, those things that we can do to really help integrate our renewable energy sources, to bring down costs, to provide greater reliability. It's an area that I get excited about. It's an area that I think not only Alaska should be leading on, we are pioneering in so many of these ways. And so I'm curious as to how you might structure a more comprehensive research program in microgrids to leverage the assets that we have within the department and the expertise that we have, whether it's within our universities or whether it's what our local communities have, because we clearly saw that level of expertise at that field hearing. So how can we do more when it comes to our opportunities with microgrids? And this impacts not only us in Alaska, but certainly our friends in Hawaii as well that are in the same type of structure.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I have a quite a bit of experience, not in the Arctic, but in microgrids in Hawaii, in Texas, in California. And what's truly exciting is that the technology changes that have taken place, both on the renewable side, as well as on the natural gas side and in storage, has been dramatic in the last few years. The amount of, the ability for economically advantaged production of generation on a microgrid scale has jumped from not being very viable economically without some incentives to actually working without incentives in many places. And clearly, Hawaii is one example of that being a bit unique, but in many other areas of the country, even in Texas, I've seen microgrids and distributed generation work very well. I am not familiar with all the work that the labs have done in this area, but I know the technology is there, and I know that it is economically viable, and it was not as economically viable just 5 or 10 years ago. So you have my commitment that that I will dig into what the resources are and the research in this area is at the lab complex, and I look forward to progressing that even further.
We'll invite you all up to Cordova and Oscarville and parts in between. Senator Hirona.